Hey, welcome to Pastor Chat. So glad that you could join us this evening. And this is a time where we talk to one of our pastors so you get better acquainted with them. And Dr. Kevin Jones is most recently come on our staff. He's one of our lay pastors. And we're just delighted to have you. You and your family are just a marvelous part of our church. So welcome to Pastor Chat.
Well, thank you for having me.
Glad
My
you're here.
family and I have really enjoyed being members of Buck Run. So it's a
Well,
delight.
man, you guys are incredibly loved. I want to get to that about you and Buck Run
Yeah,
in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So,
yeah.
where are you from?
Born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, West Louisville to be exact. Both me and my wife. So grew up in a what I would consider a good church going Baptist home. So was baptized at Little Flock Missionary Baptist Church
Not,
downtown.
okay,
Right,
gotcha.
right.
Downtown.
Hancock, Little Flock, and yeah, I mean, raised primarily by my mother and stepfather a little bit later on in my life, and yeah, came to the Lord again at 15, and kind of the rest is kind of history. Yeah,
Well, let's talk about that history.
yeah,
So, you came to know the Lord at 15,
I did.
and at what point did you feel called into ministry?
Yeah, so things kind of happened kind of rapidly for my ministry life to say the least. So baptized at 15, 16ish or so, I'm sitting in Sunday school with Nona Graves. That was my Sunday school teacher's name, and Patsy Turner, both two outstanding females that just taught and trained. So Nona Graves says, "Hey, the Lord has called you to be a teacher." She's like, "And you're going to start coming to our 1 year teacher training because He's giving you the gift to teach, and that's what you need to do." Now, listen, I was 16 at the time, and what 16-year-olds did, I was taught, you obey your elders. In my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to be a teacher. This is not going to happen. But I showed up for teacher training. Long story short, went through the training at Little Flock and started teaching Sunday school my senior year in high school to boys aged 9 to 12. I still had a little bit of desire because I'm still thinking, Lord, is this calling to teach Sunday school going to connect? I didn't really see it connecting to a long-term profession for me at that time. So
What were you
yeah,
thinking about a long-term profession?
yeah, I was thinking about business, right? So I grew up broke, to say the least.
Uh
And
huh.
I'm like, yeah, I want to be a businessman because I had heard businessmen make money. So
Yeah.
I didn't know what kind of business
Not
I
a
wanted to
not a
go
wrong
into,
desire at
you know.
all.
And I'm like, I don't want to be broke. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
That's
thought about University of Louisville Business School. That did just not go well. My desire was in teaching. So transferred to Kentucky State. We may talk about that here in a moment. But upon graduating from Kentucky State University, went to do a master's degree at the University of Kentucky. At that point, we attended Consolidated Baptist Church, led by Pastor Richard Gaines.
yeah. He's a dear friend of mine.
Yeah, and so we were talking, same kind of deal. I'm sitting in the back doing Wednesday night Bible study, and he said, "Man, I think the Lord is calling you to preach." Now lo and behold, he didn't know this, but man, I had been having these like sleepless nights for months on end,
Really.
literally months on end, and the only thing that would help me rest in the evening at night was reading the Bible. And so we're sitting at Donato's Pizza, I think that was the name of the spot on News Circle. And I'm like, well, let me tell you what I've been dealing with the last 6, 7 months of my life. I can't sleep. And he's like, man, I think the Lord is calling you. So again, with him, we went through like a 1 year pastoral training program with him where I watched him, walked alongside him, funerals, weddings, and teaching opportunities and things like that. And then
Yeah.
taught my initial sermons a freezing cold day in February, I think, of 2005. Yeah,
Richard Gaines is just a wonderful man.
yeah,
I love him.
yeah.
Just patient, kind.
You're
Uh,
exactly right.
yeah, I love him. I'm actually getting to be his D-men supervisor
Oh,
right
that'll
now.
be good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
So,
good.
but I've known him many, many years. We
Yeah.
pastored together in Lexington, so
Yeah,
I've
that's
known
right.
him going way
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And he's a dear friend. Uh, so what was he your primary preacher influence in your life?
Yeah. See, the Lord has blessed me, I think, with some great preacher friends and mentors. So not long after that, I meet Curtis Woods. I think it was early 2006.
Uh huh.
And so here's my introduction to Curtis Woods. And if anybody knows him, this won't surprise you one bit.
Curtis Woods, former member here at Buck
so,
Run, and former deacon. Yeah.
so I'm serving at this point at Kentucky State University, working as a hall director, doing some other stuff there. And so Gaines and his former pastor know one another, and they say, "Hey, you all need to connect somehow." And so I walk over to the BCM at KSU. I walk in. He's playing some Christian hip hop, which has just kind of changed my life as relates to the music that I listen to. And we're talking. He's like, "Hey man, you know you're a preacher, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "If I ask you to preach this week, what would you preach?" I'm like, "What?" like what kind of good to meet you too, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what kind of question is that? He's like, "Man, you got to always be ready." And so that one interaction with Curtis, with Dr. Woods at this point, kind of set me on the trajectory of just being in the habit, even then, of continual Bible study. I never wanted to be put to shame like that again, and say, "Hey, I've been called to the ministry, and I don't have preparation ready." And so he gave me multiple books and get commentaries and things like, "Hey, go read these, study." And it just started a long-term process of mentorship between Curtis and I, and it still happens today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, I love Curtis Woods.
Yeah.
Curtis and Tracy are just amazing.
yeah.
To my favorite people. I cherish the time they were here at Buck Run.
Yeah. Second,
Still
I'm
miss them,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, second probably greatest pastor influence is another one of your friends, Kevin Smith. So when we moved to Louisville, when Mika's mom was ill, we moved there and kind of transitioned to Louisville, and we joined Watson and watched him walk through the text and watched him love the community and just serve well.
And
So
Kevin was mentored largely by DJ Ward
got it right. Yeah.
at Main Street Baptist Church. And,
Yeah.
and DJ was a dear friend of mine as well.
Yeah.
So, man, this just excites me to hear the influences on your life
Yeah.
are men that I love,
Yeah.
respect, and am or was friends with.
Yeah, and I guess one other, I hate to we had a short stint at Emmanuel Baptist Church, but Pastor Ryan Fullerton as well.
Yeah.
When we served there, we went through his 3-year pastoral apprenticeship at Emmanuel Baptist Church, and just his teaching and preaching and the way he led in the community has also had a great effect on my life. So yeah, this had a chance to be mentored by a lot of guys, and then even in a great friend like Nate Bishop when we were there. So yeah, those guys have been great.
Well,
for
man,
me in my
the
ministry.
the lines have certainly fallen to you in pleasant places.
Hey, listen, I tell people all the time, hey, listen, I've had a chance, my family, we've been a part of some of the best churches, I would say, in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, Buck Run included. It's just like,
Yeah, the Lord's good. All right, let's back up.
Yeah, there you go.
Talk about D'Amica. How did you and D'Amica meet?
Well, so I have my version of the story, but since we're recording this, I'll tell the true version of the story. Okay. She gives me a hard time sometimes because I make up all kind of stories. So no, actually our best friends at the time were dating. So my friend at the time was dating her best friend at the time, and I'm literally like hanging out at his house. I have no idea what we're about to do. Who knows? We worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken together. And so I'm at his house, and sitting on his dresser is a picture of D'Amica and his then girlfriend. And I'm like, "Man, who in the world is this girl with your girlfriend?" And he's like, "That's her friend. That's her friend D'Amica." I'm like, "Well, I need to get to know her." Literally, hey, get me connected with her immediately. And so we exchanged
Good eye.
phone call. I'm telling you, brother, you got
If thine eye be single.
I'm telling you, got that single eye, right? You've been preaching through that
Yeah,
for us.
man.
That's how we met, and spent some time, on the phone with her, and that was in.
So you saw her in a picture
Yep.
and said, "Want to meet her?"
Yep, that's right.
Made it happen, and it was on.
And it was on, and haven't looked back since.
All right.
look back since.
How responsive was she? So did she have the same reaction when she saw you? That's what I'm
Man, Doc,
wondering.
I'm telling you, listen. I think it was mutual. I think we met one another. It was a
Christians.
We were both. Hey, this is.
You
is
were
a
both
good thing.
Christians.
We were both believers at the time.
Yeah.
We were both believers at the time, and even then, I wanted to be married even then, and so even in like and I hadn't heard
So
a
you
lot.
you weren't looking just for girls to hang out with. You were
No.
looking for a wife.
Yeah, which was just it was just
How
the
old were
Lord's
you?
hand
How
on
were
me.
you at this
I was
point?
17 at the time,
Okay.
and yeah, it was just like, hey, I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste time with anything, and so yeah, that was 21 years ago when we met, and we dated through her junior and senior year of high school, proms together, went to Kentucky State University together, and yeah, our senior year in college, we got married.
So you guys dated 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, like a little more than 5 years. A little more than 5 years. Yep. Started dating December 16th, 1998. I snuck into her school to take her roses and a note that said, "Will you marry me?" At this point, that's a federal offense. I'd probably be locked up for doing that as a kid now, So
Yeah, man. Yeah.
that's our story right there.
So after dating that long,
Yeah.
how was the adjustment to marriage? Was it because you dated? You think it was easier because you dated that long, or do you
Oh
think
man.
no, man, it was hard anyway?
No, I think the adjustment was pretty smooth. We were engaged our senior year. We got engaged April 19th of 2003, and so we were engaged a year. And I think just being so we get married. And yes, it was tough. I don't want to paint the picture like it was easy, because I think we were probably both ready for divorce the first 60 days after being married. But the transition was
Happens.
yeah,
I get it.
I think it was the whole living together. You kind of have these two lives where you do your own thing for your whole life, and then you move
Yeah.
into the same place.
I get it. It's this is one of the things that I think I've learned over the course of Tanya. As of this August, will be 40 years we've been together.
Right.
I mean, you
Wow.
get married till 6 months after that, but I mean, from day one,
Yeah.
we were together every day.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That's us,
and
sorta.
yeah, when we got married, there's this shock. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. I
She's
get it, yeah.
not what I thought she was, and she's
Now,
thinking
Mika would never say that about me. She would say he's more than what I thought he was.
Yeah,
That's-
Tanya wouldn't say that. Tanya would be going.
He's much crazier than what I thought
Yeah.
he was. He's much more
And
prideful
I mean,
than
I
I thought he
could-
was.
I can remember. I'll tell you this event. An uncle of mine had this RV set up out at the horse park all summer long. I remember the first year we got married. He says, "Hey, you guys can go out and use the camper for a couple of days at the horse park and go swim in or whatever." Oh, great! I can remember those 2 days we went out there. Tanya cried the whole time. It was like, I just like what.
Yeah,
I didn't
what
even
happened?
know what I had done. I
Yeah.
didn't even know I
Yeah,
was so bad.
that's
And
my
I
life.
look back at it now, and it was just like, I think it was just her general disappointment with me.
Yeah, well,
And I didn't even realize I was
join
disappointed.
the club.
And you go through that time where reality sets in.
Yeah.
You really do love each other. And
Yeah.
again, I've told this many times that the question was not that did I want someone else in place of her. I
Yeah.
did not. She was the woman I wanted, if I wanted a woman at all.
Yeah, that's right.
But like those early days, I'm like, I don't know that I can do this. And then you learn how to overlook one another's faults. But then there comes a point, the more you're together, where you just truly don't see each other's faults. You so embraced one another,
That's right.
and there's such a depth of love that you idealize one another.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Mika will be at all with me saying this. So we went through a point in the first 2 or 3 years in our marriage where we used the divorce word. Like we just need to be done.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you go your way, I'll go mine. We don't have any, so our deal, we don't have a house together, we don't have any kids yet. You just go your way, I'll go mine. We'll be done. We'll just we'll cut the strings and be done. And I remember just going through counseling with other couples our age, and going through counseling with older couples, and helping us walk through the process. Like, you all just have to stop using the word divorce.
Yeah, just stop it.
Just stop it. Like, to death do you part really means to death do you part. And somewhere around, I don't know, maybe the 4 or 5 year mark, we just like, it seems like a really long time even saying it now, but maybe it's should offer some encouragement.
That's shorter than our time.
It's like, no more divorce word. We're done with the divorce word. It's thrown out, and we haven't used that since we made an agreement to stop talking.
Yeah, I tell couples, it's like when you figure out, when you think, okay, we're on an island
Yeah.
and there's no rescue boat coming,
Hey.
and we can't swim off this island. We're stuck on this island. Okay, then your choice becomes either are we going to be miserable on this island, or are we going to be happy on this island?
There you go.
But we're going to be on the island, so
together.
let's figure out a way to
Yep.
get happy, right?
You got it.
And
That's
when
it.
you get that mindset, okay, now we've made that decision.
Yeah.
There's no way off the island. Let's figure out how to make each other happy.
That's right.
And also I think the R word, reasonably happy.
Yeah.
You can't have the Hollywood notion that everything's going to be,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
perfect every
Yeah.
sunrise, every meal,
Yeah, I'm telling you.
every romantic interlude.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Yeah.
That's just not life.
And I'm telling you, media just messes it up
It
for
does. It
both male and
lies.
female. That's right.
It
I
lies.
remember D'Amica saying it. She shares this. She says, "Yeah, I thought getting married was gonna be like just me and my best friend having a slumber party. Like we're just gonna just hang out." And I'm like,
Yeah, that's right.
"No, I don't. You know what? It's not. We're not gonna have a slumber party.
It's not at all like that for,
slumber
especially for
party,
the
man.
guy.
Yeah,
I
right.
can tell what the guys think it's going to be like. It's not like that either.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.
Well,
Man. So,
you guys have how many children?
we have three children.
Tell us about your kids.
Yeah. So Kennedy is 11, our oldest daughter. Kevin is 10. He'll be 10 on the 20th of this month. He has a little countdown going down. And then Carson is 7, our youngest daughter. So
Well,
that's
they
our crew.
are absolutely the just most incredible children.
Yeah.
You all have. Tell me about what's your philosophy of parenting, because
Yeah.
I just hear people talk about your kids all the time. It's one thing for you to enjoy your children, right? I think everybody sort of enjoys their own kids, but it's another thing when other people want to be around your children, and people want to be around your kids.
Yeah,
So
well, that's
that's
kind
that's a
of people.
great
Yeah.
that's a great compliment to you. So do you guys have what's your philosophy of parenting?
Yeah. So I'll kind of reach back a little bit and fast forward. So, I mean, I can't neglect. I think the influence that Curtis and Tracy have had on our lives. Right. So before we had kids, I mean, we would hang out with them, babysitting, hanging out with their 3 sons, and just to watch the intentionality that Curtis and Tracy had within their home with their boys was amazing. So frankly speaking, I mean, I never grew up in a home where I saw a dad like praying around the table with his kids and
Yeah.
loving his wife and like putting his sons to bed at night, reading and praying with them, something like that. I was able to see that even before we had kids. So that has probably been one of the greatest influences on us. And you kind of couple that with, and then D'Amica has just done a lot of work with reading and with training and with prepping. So people say, you get this, right? You say you put in countless hours to prepare a sermon, and what we get is the beauty and overflow of all the work that you've put in to sermon prep. I think that's the same thing with our kids. D'Amica has been so intentional with from day one with reading. I mean, day one of inception, right? Conception, right? So we know you're pregnant. We're reading, we're praying, just relentlessly for them. So she's just done a marvelous job at that. And then we try not to neglect our devotion time. So as early as she and I sitting together having morning devotions with our kids, just drawing them to the scripture early in the morning, letting them know, hey, you're a sinner. Yes, we love you. You can be saved. So I say Curtis and Tracy and their love and guidance. I say all just the books that Mika has read and kind of put into play, and then other mentors helping us through that process. Finally,
Yeah.
we don't spare the rod. We just,
Yeah.
hey, listen, there are consequences for
You
your actions.
discipline them.
We discipline them. Yeah, we do.
What you're describing at every level here is First Timothy 2:2 about training faithful men,
Yeah.
to teach. And this is what Curtis and Tracy did with you and D'Amica. It's what
Yeah.
you and D'Amica are doing with your children.
Yeah.
By God's
Lord
grace, we're going to see them grow and do this with others. It's
Yeah.
just this is the way
Yeah.
Christian faith grows.
Yeah.
And our most important and significant subjects for evangelism should be our children.
Yeah. So
I mean, we
That's
ought to reach a
encouraging
lot
to
of
hear.
others too, but the most important are your own
Yeah.
kids.
yeah, one thing that I've just tried to do as well. This is like going through leadership programs at school, and I've heard principals and other administrators say, you know what, man, I just spend so much time at work. I just don't, I never really engage with my kids. So I've tried to make it a point, as for years, like when I get home, I know some people are like, hey, you never respond to my messages and phone calls. I literally will leave my bag and everything in the car when I get home, because I don't have the temperament and enough control to say, oh, yeah, let me check the phone for a couple of minutes and then like not be on it for 45 minutes.
Really?
So one of the things that I've tried to practice is leave the bag, leave all the work stuff in the car until the kids have gone to sleep, so that I'm all in when I get home. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect thing, but
right.
I try to be intentional in doing that.
When you're home,
Yeah.
you're home.
When I'm home, I'm home. Just try to be where I am.
That's great.
Try to be where I am. So,
Well, your family is absolutely lovely, and it blesses me. I don't know if you've not seen it yet. Make sure you go on Buck Run's Facebook page and see their family worship time. We had them film it for us and sort of instruct us in how they teach their children. It's really beautiful. It's a
May God
beautiful
be
thing to see.
glorified.
Yeah, and
Just a
I think the
product
Lord
of
is
other
glorified.
brothers
People
loving
need
me.
to see it. I'm so glad you did it. So tell me about your own preaching, teaching. How do you prepare? What does it look like when you like what kind of preaching or teaching do you enjoy?
Yeah.
And how do you prepare for it?
Yes, I think that the teaching and preaching that I enjoy listening to. I mean, before we were members here, I'm not just saying this. So I listened to you a lot before we were members. Alistair Begg, just listened to a lot of his preaching. Thabiti, listened to a lot of his preaching, just to try to wrap my mind around. Yeah, just different preaching styles and ways to guide us move forward. So you use them, and then my style is typically, because now I'm in this whole process of thinking Curtis is going to call me one day and say, "Hey, you ready to preach?" So, I mean, it's become a joy now.
Yeah.
15 years ago it was like, oh my God, it was kind of nerve wracking. But I now have a love for the Scripture, just through his training. So I usually print out my whatever passage it is I'm going to study,
Okay.
and then I look, I read, I write, circle, highlight, ask questions of the text, and work through, and then repeatedly just kind of work through that, time and time again through the course of a week. I'm trying to get out all that I think the Lord is saying within the passage through the prep, and then just looking for basic application points. Of course, leaving the text in its context, doing all those things. So I ask myself a few questions when I'm prepping. What does this passage say about mankind? What do we learn about God the Father? What do I learn about God the Son? What do I learn about God the Spirit? Like, how is this passage connected to the Old Testament passages? Where is this replicated? Are parallel passages in the New Testament? Like, what is my response when I'm done reading this particular passage of the text? That's usually my prep style, and that comes from reading books like from Piper and Lloyd Jones, those guys who just talked about preaching, had those resources. And again, so Smith gave me a bunch of resources on teaching and preaching when I was serving at Watson with him.
You went to Kentucky State
That's correct.
University, and then you went to Southern Seminary.
No, sir.
You didn't.
I did not go to Southern Seminary.
All right. So tell me about where have you gone beyond Kentucky State?
So I went to Kentucky State, then I did 2 degrees at the University of Kentucky,
Okay.
and then I did my leadership at Spalding University.
Spalding. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. What degrees did you do at UK?
So I did a degree in a master's in education. The focus was curriculum and instruction, and then I did a master's in educational leadership at the University of Kentucky, and my doctorate is in leadership education.
Great.
Yes, sir. So,
Well, I didn't know that
Yeah.
whether you had or hadn't gone to Southern,
Yeah.
but you've been on faculty at Boyce,
Yeah,
right? And you
yeah.
taught there. Did you teach education there?
I did taught education there, and still supervising students to this day at Southern in their leadership program. That's been a delight.
So you and your family began coming to Buck Run even while you were living in Louisville, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So we're of course I'm working at Kentucky State, and we're thinking, hey, I want to be. This is sort of Smith's philosophy, right? Like, be where you are, kind of be able to serve in geographically where you are. So it was just a disconnect, and I'm even working through this now for multiple other reasons. He's like, hey, being closer to campus will help you serve better as a leader. So I was making the commute from Louisville to KSU, for an hour around, hour to at Frankfurt, an hour back, which wasn't bad. I listened to sermons, make phone calls, kind of, do some of that stuff in the car. But when students needed things, we were unable as a family to serve them. So we're like, hey, we need to make the move to Frankfurt so I can be a better leader at Kentucky State University. And yeah, moving to a city is like, well, where are we going to church when we move to that city? Because of first importance to us is being able to fellowship with the body. And so we started coming to Buck Run. I think we drove maybe 6 or 7 months.
We did.
Every maybe a little bit longer than that. I don't want to extend the truth, but we drove maybe about a half a year.
Yeah, it was a good while.
And because we wanted to get to know, we wanted to be involved in the church. And again, D'Amica's thinking is, as our kids leave friends, they need to already have friends in the next place where we're going. So we're removing them from the context in Louisville, all that they've known for the last whatever year, their whole lives. Will they have friendships when we get to Frankfurt? And So yeah, that was part of our transition. To
Well,
Brooklyn.
one of
Yeah.
Kennedy's friends is my granddaughter
I'm
Stella.
telling you,
Who
they
just,
roll, don't they?
they do. They love each other,
That's
and it's
good. Yeah.
a beautiful thing to see them together.
You got it. You got
Well,
it.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know how to say this other than you guys have. First of all, you are greatly loved by our church,
The feeling is mutual.
and you've been greatly used in this church on so many levels. And I want to talk about D'Amica's freedom in worship has
Yeah.
been a blessing, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, this is something that I, as a pastor, have long wanted our people to loosen up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say amen and stuff.
You
And
got it.
D'Amica, what I love about D'Amica is who she is,
Who she is.
and
Hey.
she's not, you know, she's not trying to be who anybody else is.
No, man. Not at all.
She is who she is, and
Freedom to worship.
and buddy, she's given permission to other people who, a lot of times people would go out of church say to me, I just felt like saying amen today, but
Yeah.
why didn't you do it? And I think once D'Amica came, it gave people freedom.
Yeah.
Either people will applaud down the middle of the sermon,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I really do miss about preaching in that empty sanctuary on
Yeah.
Sundays now. It's
Oh
like,
man, we miss you too.
there's nobody talking back at all
I'm
now.
telling you.
know?
I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm so tired of seeing the parking lot empty. It is driving me
Yeah.
insane. I mean, not insane, but it's just.
I
Like,
know
man,
what you
let's-
mean.
let's get back.
Good preaching is dialogical,
is.
isn't it?
I believe
it's
it.
a dialogue.
Yes,
even
sir.
even in white churches where I would say that in general Anglos talk back differently, but they're
Yeah.
still talking back.
Okay.
Even like sometimes you're preaching and that incessant coughing and stirring just stops and there's
Yeah.
a total stillness. Now if that happens to you in a black church,
You in trouble.
that's exactly right. You are going down in flames.
Wrap it up, right?
But
Wrap it up.
but like in a white church, that's them sort of talking back, and
Yeah.
and so there are different ways, and
Yeah.
these are cultural things, and not right or wrong, cultural expressions, and but you want people to be free
That's right.
within themselves to
Yeah.
worship, and it's one of the things I love about Buck Run.
Yeah.
But
We
the
have
Lord
freedom
has
to
used
worship.
used you and your family greatly.
Yeah. Well, two
Now-
things that. Oh, could I?
Go ahead.
Two things that. One, I think that's where we miss some of the beauty in image bearers as different churches. Like, so I've had unique opportunities to serve both in predominantly white churches and predominantly black churches, and I'm like, man, there is so much that we can learn from one another and
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate contextually from one another. And D'Amica and I, through the grace of the Lord, have had an opportunity to see that, and we're constantly working through and processing what that means for our children and our lives and our ministry. And second thing, I mean, what we get, what you all see on Sunday morning, is what me and the kids experience every day. It's just like, so I
Yeah.
don't want anybody to think, oh yeah, she's just no. Listen.
No.
She will wake up. She will wake us up praising the Lord.
She does it on Facebook.
You know?
And
5:30
preaching.
in
And
the
she
morning,
like,
right?
she's like, make it plain, Pastor. On Facebook. And
just her
this
habit,
is who
yeah.
she is. And
That's who she is.
again, D'Amica is just one of my favorite people because she loves the Lord unreservedly.
That's right.
And I've always told young preachers at Southern who are single and looking for a wife, I say, you find a gal who's passionate for Jesus.
Amen.
She'll be passionate for you too.
That's
You
right.
don't have to worry
I
about
got
it.
that. Hey, she has that passion, bro.
Amen.
Yeah, and I'm
Amen.
thankful for it.
She does everything she does with great passion.
Yeah.
Well, now I don't know. I don't want to call this bad news.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good news. Anything the Lord does is good news.
It's good news.
But forgive me for having a sadness about it. The Lord has opened a new door of opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And tell us about it.
Yeah. New opportunity to serve as the Dean of the College of Education at Cedarville University. That's the opportunity there. And we've
It's
accepted the
first of
opportunity.
all,
Yeah.
let me say Cedarville University in Cedarville, Ohio is a great school, great evangelical school.
Yeah.
And really just solid evangelical, conservative, Bible-believing school.
Yeah.
Parents
sir.
can have great confidence in sending their kids there.
Man, that's the truth. That is the truth.
They're on the right side of all the key issues of our day.
Yeah.
And for you to be called there as the dean of the School of Education
Yes, sir.
is historic.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for them and excited for you. What an incredible opportunity. I have friends there at
Yeah.
Cedarville that you'll have to get to know. People
Okay.
that I pastored at Ashland Avenue
Yeah.
are on staff
Yeah.
there.
That's
One
good.
of the VPs and Bruce Traeger and his wife
Yeah.
Becky and
Yeah. I met
uh,
her.
they're phenomenal folks and just a lot of connections there at Cedarville. But I'm excited for you going there. But
Oh man, don't butt.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it's just hard because
It
you're
is
so
really hard.
loved here.
Yeah.
And having you on this staff as one of our pastors, I think, is very, very important uh, because of our history and just who we want. We want Buck Run to look like Frankfurt,
Yeah.
and it is important to me that we have a cross section of our community. And man, you've just been important. You've grown us, and we love you dearly.
Man, we love you too.
So I know D'Amica and the kids are going to miss you.
Yeah. So we run it solo. You
yeah.
said to be solo, huh?
Yeah, that's
I gotta
right.
come back
Maybe
and
you
see
come
'em.
back on weekends and visit
Come
them.
back to hang out with my
Yeah.
family.
No,
man.
man, we just love you.
Yeah.
There's just no other way about it.
Yeah.
We love you.
So, yeah, we're still navigating through what our transition looks like.
Well, just know this: no matter what it looks
yeah.
like, and no matter how it ends, Buck Run's always going to be home.
You got that right.
All right, and
Yeah.
you're always going to be loved,
Yeah.
and there's a place
Yeah.
here for you
Yeah.
always.
We're trying to figure out how we can still be members
Well-
of Buck Run and live in Cedarville.
Well-
and that just shatters a lot of what I've thought about church membership.
Yeah, well, if ever there's a time that could happen, it's now.
And you got that right, you know.
So
we're like, how can we navigate this?
Yeah, well, man, we're praying for you,
I appreciate
excited about the opportunities, and grateful that there's been, whatever happens, you are in Buck Run, and Buck Run is in you
You got
from
that
now
right.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're in each other's DNA.
yeah, that's right.
And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, Buck Run has redeemed a lot for us,
Great.
just a lot, and we have just fallen more deeply in love with the Lord because of both the leadership and teaching and preaching, but also the members of the body. From day one when we visited the church, and I dare not start calling names. I'll just forget someone.
Yeah, I know.
But it's like, hey, come hang out with us. Come hang out with us. And it was not. It was real. It was, we really want to be intimately involved in your life, from single people to married people, older couples, younger couples, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Come hang out with us, before you go back to Louisville. Come over and have dinner with us. So it was just that when we first got here, which made coming to Buck Run just a sure delight.
I always fear that I'm just going to sound too idealistic, and
I used to think you were when I listened to you before joining here.
when I talk about Buck Run, people think it's just PR or something. It's not. I mean, it's just the most incredible place I've ever been, and the people here are amazing.
They are.
Beautiful. I have fallen in love with this
Yeah.
church deeply, and
Yeah.
I think the day Kennedy was saved, there were several professors from Southern and Boyce that came over,
Yeah.
and they had heard about Buck Run. So
Yep.
they told me after, they're like, okay, we get it now.
Yeah.
We see it
yeah.
now.
It was Bosch and I think Orrin.
Yeah.
Dr. Martin and Dr. Bosch both came.
Yeah.
I think that day. It
And
was
Orrin
kind of
especially told me, he said, "Oh, we love it." I've had several professors from Southern come over for just one Sunday just to sort of see it, and they we get it, and they'll say, if we could drive that back and forth every week, we would. I'm like, well, somebody did.
Look, somebody may.
Yeah. So I say a church alive is worth a drive.
Yeah, I'm telling you, got that right. You got that right.
Well, let me ask you I got a twinkling of an eye around, just
Okay.
some random questions just to ask you.
Now this frightens me, not only because I'm sitting here, but for other people too. And I'm like, oh man, what is he going to ask? What are they
Yeah,
going to say?
it's just like, okay. So, favorite song from your senior year in high school?
Ooh, man. Favorite song, senior year in high school. Man, probably something about like either Sam Cooke or Jodeci. My parents grew up listening to a lot of old music, right?
You
And
can't go wrong
so
with Sam Cooke.
and so it was kind of like this blend between
Uh-huh.
Sam Cooke and the Commodores and Boys to Men and Jodeci. I can't think of a,
Okay, but
I gave you four groups. You asked me for one, I gave you four groups.
Okay, that's in there. It gives me a shot group. So, all right, so your favorite Christian hip hop artist?
Oh man, without a shadow of a doubt, today is the Ambassador, William Deuce Branch. The
Really?
Ambassador. He's a rapper. Yeah. So again, Curtis introduced me to his music, and fell in love with the album called The Thesis. And I would recommend his music to anybody.
Okay.
It is a delight.
I'm not
yeah.
familiar with him, so I'll check that out. All right. Do you have a favorite?
Now, we gotta listen to it in my truck though. It's not gonna sound right without the subs. Okay. So
Okay, gotta have the subs, all right.
yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. Do you have a favorite country song? Any country song?
No, but I do listen to Dierks Bentley.
Okay.
Let me tell you how this happened. I was a student at the University of Kentucky, and a girl's listening to some. I'm like, who is that? She's like, Dierks Bentley. I'm like, I can listen to that. We were working together, planting some tulips or something outside the School of Ed there, and we listened to the music, and that is the only country artist name that I can call right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
I get it.
Yeah.
Is there a secular author or book that you have particularly enjoyed?
Yeah. Author, book, secular favorite. Ta-Nehisi Coates is probably one of the most thought-provoking writers
Yeah.
out there.
I read about everything he writes.
I'm telling you,
except I've not read his comic book thing, the graphic novel. I've not read that.
Yes, I'm working through that.
Yeah.
But he's a prolific writer.
Between the World
Great.
and Me
That's right.
is howlingly sad to
Oh
me.
man, yeah.
But you need to read it because he outright rejects Christianity
He does.
as the answer in that book.
He
And
does.
I read it and I just go,
Yep.
if he could only see.
Yeah.
But Ta-Nehisi Coates is very important. His article on reparations in the Atlantic. I mean, there's several things like that I think is just every thinking person.
That's right.
Really needs to read it,
That's right.
even because I think he's going to give you the best argument, even when you disagree with him.
Even when you disagree with his end, he's
Yeah,
gonna give you one
it's
solid-
like
solid argument.
I read people I disagree with a lot more than I read people I agree with
have to.
because, right, that makes me formulate my ideas and makes me sharp.
Yeah.
You don't want to set up straw men and knock them down. Like you just don't grow that way.
No.
Mischaracterizing what somebody's saying.
No, and his writing is legit. So when I
His
read through
writing
his work,
is
I'm
beautiful.
I'm thinking like this is my college experience at Kentucky State University.
Yeah.
When I'm reading, I'm like, oh yeah, and I know where he went to school, but I'm
He went
visualizing
to what?
myself.
To Morehouse.
He did, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
visualizing myself like at KSU, like
Yeah.
oh yeah, like that
Yeah.
was a thing at KSU too. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I read Ta-Nehisi Coates as well, and you would never know how to pronounce that name by looking at it.
Nope.
You would not know how to pronounce it that way if I hadn't heard him say it.
You got it.
And you
got
did.
it.
You say it right.
There
so.
you go. All right, appreciate you.
Okay. Do you have a favorite car? Are you a car person? Is there an ideal car you'd like to have?
Yeah, so ideal car is probably a 1995 Impala. I'll take one of those in a heartbeat.
Tricked out any particular way?
I'm telling you, tricked all the way out.
Okay.
So rims big enough, 22s, which are probably going to rub a little bit when you stir and steam, all that good stuff. 4 6x9s in the back, the whole deal. So that's my car right there.
That is classic.
That's my one right there. So.
All right, Kate. So if you could take a D'Amica, just the two of you,
Yeah.
anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Oh, Aruba, no doubt.
Have you been there?
We have. That's her spot.
And so, okay, it's your happy place.
That is her spot.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm telling you, she's like, let's
I,
go.
I like Aruba. I like
Let's
Aruba.
go.
I like Bonaire better.
Okay.
Bonaire next door. Again, the Dutch in the Caribbean, the Dutch islands and the British islands, I think, are the best.
Okay. Okay.
The French and the Spanish, I don't like as much
Okay,
as
okay.
the Dutch and the
All
British.
right.
The infrastructure, and those are just really fine.
A little bit different.
I've got some
Yeah,
gifts
so
for you, man.
She's an Aruba person. We can get there, we're gone.
All right, I've got a lot of really neat gifts for you here. Let me see here what I got. All right. All right. Just to show you
Yeah.
that
There you go.
anywhere in the
Like,
world
why
you
you holding
go,
it that- don't hold it that long.
anywhere in the world you go,
Oh, man.
we're going to be in your hearts,
Oh,
and
that's
you're going to
awesome.
be in our thoughts.
This is good.
So there's Atlas of the World.
That's cool.
It's a great. I'm a map guy.
I mean, yeah, that's why I love your teaching.
I love maps and
Thank you
satellite
so much.
photos. There's the whole world. So I have given you the world.
Hey, but thank you so much. I can't ask for anything else. can I?
Wherever in it you go, Buck Run is a part of you.
Oh,
all
this
right.
is awesome.
Here is a scripture, a study journal,
Okay,
based on Jonathan Pennington's study of Sermon on the Mount.
that's cool.
So,
I like JP. He's a great prophet.
yeah. And hang this on your wall in Cedarville.
Okay,
So
all right.
send as many students our way as
I
you
can do that for you.
Southern Seminary's trusted for truth. All
There you
right.
go. I can do
All
that.
right? Okay.
Still supervising my students through to completion too. So.
All right.
Get it
This
done.
is called this company called Cocoon. This is just a cool thing.
Okay.
And like you tuck your wires and like your charging wires
Okay.
and chargers and electronic devices all in this.
I can
You
do that.
organize them, and it's just a neat thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It goes in a briefcase, suitcase, whatever. Keeps them really neat. And
That's good. That's good. Going
there you go.
nice.
I love it.
my
I've got
new briefcase.
I've got
This is
a
pretty
whole
cool.
Cocoon case that I like. All right.
I have to keep Kennedy's hands off this.
Yeah,
She's
well,
gonna see this and say, "Can I have it immediately?" And I'm gonna tell her no.
Okay. My love language.
Oh man, bring it on,
Get the
my
Reese's
friend.
cup.
Break it out.
Share my largesse with you. All right. Here's a red fountain pen. It's got red ink in it. A little extra red. This is Bay State Cape Cod Cranberry.
Okay.
Red. From I can't read what I can't remember where I got that.
Okay,
But there.
okay.
Anyway, it's a special ink. And for you grading all those papers,
I'm telling
it's
you.
red ink. Red ink.
They're gonna
right?
just, wherever you go, there's always a little red that needs to be splashed across the place. on
That's
the
exactly
paper.
right. That's exactly right. We won't do everything online.
I'm telling you.
And then here, little case. It's just great for tucking a Bible in that and sticking it in your suitcase so the pages don't bend. From Templeton Tours.
Hey, I appreciate it.
So,
I
man, that's
appreciate
just those are
Oh, you
all
sent me a bunch of
tokens of
goodies.
my esteem.
Oh, man.
And it's been a joy, first of all, to be your friend, secondly, to be your pastor,
Yeah.
and always to be your colleague. And may the Lord bless you and your family.
Amen.
Wherever you
Thank so
go,
much, Dr. York.
I'd love you to be a part of Buck Run as long as you can be, will be.
Well, we'll
you
be
know,
here. We'll be
but
here a while.
We're excited for what God's doing with you.
Yeah.
Wherever
Church
that
life
is.
is important to us. We'll be here
Just-
for a while.
Just be in His will and,
Amen.
be faithful. That's the thing. I pray that for me, and I'll certainly pray that for you.
Amen. Can do that.
Hey, thanks for joining us again this week on Pastor Chat. And next week, it's going to be Miss Mel. Looking forward to
Oh, that's
Mel
good.
Brewer.
That's awesome.
Getting to talk to her. So look forward to talking to you then. May the Lord bless you.
Amen. Thank you.